Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5.
The U.S. Senate has passed the $2 trillion relief package. The vote was 96-0. The bill will now go to the House, and President Donald Trump is speaking about that now from the White House. Let's listen for a few minutes.
And you know what? I don't blame China for that. I blame the people that were right here because they should have never allowed it to happen. But the relationship with China has been a very good one. John?
Mr. President, did President Xi ask you to calm that language down or to not use that language?
He never asked me to calm it down, no. Somebody might have spoken to somebody, but nobody spoke to me about it.
Mr. President,
I think it was time, though, because, you know, I talk about the Chinese virus, and I mean it. That's where it came from. You know, if you look at Ebola, if you look at Lyme, right, Lyme, Connecticut, you look at all these different horrible diseases, they seem to come with the name, with the location. And this was the Chinese virus. But I don't have to say it if they feel so strongly about it.
All right, you can continue listening to President Trump's coronavirus update on our webpage, valleynewslive.com, and on our Facebook page. North Dakota health officials are announcing that 13 additional cases of COVID-19 have now been confirmed in the state, bringing the total to 58. There are now confirmed cases in 12 counties across the state of North Dakota. One of the cases involves a child under the age of 10 from McIntosh County. State leaders also spoke today about child care at their briefing, saying there are new guidelines for child care providers during this pandemic.
Those precautions include a limit of 10 children per room. That includes both adults and children. Keeping staff with the same children as much as possible, and staggering and limiting the use of common areas. Providers should also limit the access to the facility as much as possible. We've provided a list of screening questions that must be asked each day by the staff.
So far, over 2,200 North Dakotans have been tested for COVID-19. 11 people are currently out of isolation. But again, state health officials have confirmed 58 positive cases in North Dakota. And currently there are 11 people who are now hospitalized. You can head over to our VNL News app to see the counties affected in the state, both North Dakota and Minnesota. You can also stay updated on schools and closings and a full list of online services for residents. State health officials announced today that the number of positive COVID-19 cases in Minnesota has risen to 346, along with a second death in the state. The Minnesota Department of Health says cases have now been reported in Wilkin and Monoman counties. Another case has also been reported in Clay County, bringing the total up to 4 there. Again, the number of positive COVID-19 cases in Minnesota has risen to 346. Over 12,000 people have been tested. Officials say a total of 31 people have been hospitalized due to COVID-19, and there are now 2 deaths confirmed in Minnesota. A lot more people were venturing outside today, trying to take advantage of the mild weather and the sunshine. The First Alert Storm Team has us covered for this evening's forecast. Hutch?
Thanks so much, Andrea. We do have some high clouds over our area, but all in all, things are pretty quiet today. And temperatures, well, we're starting to go in the right direction. Gone are the 20s of yesterday, and we warmed things up about 10 degrees across the valley. 33 now in Grand Forks. It's 43 in Jamestown, with Lakes Country seeing some mid-40s as well. A lot of rain making its way through the eastern portions of South Dakota and southern Minnesota. For us, we got high clouds. That's it. And that's all I anticipate for most of us this evening. Our wind, southerly, 5 to 15 miles per hour here in the FM area, with temperatures slipping down towards 30 by bedtime tonight. Grand Forks, it looks like we'll see some mid-20s there. A few less clouds as we go through the evening, but that wind will continue to blow, keeping us from getting too cold overnight. Coming up, the warming trend continues, and a look at our rivers, because our flooding concerns are starting to take shape. I'll have the latest on that here in just a moment.
All right, thanks, Hutch. With many now working and learning from home instead of out in the community, some are wondering, does that mean less crime in the metro? Valley News Team's crime and safety reporter, Bailey Hurley, talked with local law enforcement today, who say they haven't seen much of a change.
Although roads and businesses are pretty empty nowadays, local police say it's business as usual for them.
Everything is pretty much right on track with the same types of calls as we were out there, so there really hasn't been any change on anything at this point.
Moorhead police say their numbers of accidents, impaired drivers, and traffic complaints are down. However, their numbers of suspicious persons and theft calls have increased. And despite many staying at home every day, local police say they haven't seen an increase in suicidal persons or domestics.
We haven't seen that uptick yet, but the longer people stay in homes, that could be a possibility. Hopefully the weather cooperates, people can out walk and get some of that energy burnt off.
All 5 local agencies say non-emergent calls are now being taken by phone as much as possible to respect social distancing.
Those types of calls where they're more of a quality of life as opposed to a physical emergency for somebody. Those are the types of things that officers are taking over the phone.
But Boyer says that can't always be the case when it comes to emergent calls like yesterday's suspected arson.
In a life and death situation, there's no time to stop and think, so the officers just go and do what they're trained to do.
In West Fargo, Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
Boyer says if COVID-19 continues to worsen, his officers may have to stop responding to non-essential calls like parking complaints, but he says they're not at that stage yet. With the new shelter-in-place order for Minnesota, many are wondering how law enforcement will handle it. Clay County Sheriff Mark Empting says deputies will not stop you to see if you should be heading to or from work or other essential services. The sheriff says you have a constitutional right to privacy, and law enforcement cannot stop you unless they have a reasonable suspicion to. He also says authorities will not arrest people or issue citations to people who are outside of their homes. Police in West Fargo say the fire at Park West Gardens apartments yesterday is being ruled accidental. They're calling it an unattended cooking fire and say there's $5,000 in damages. The family couldn't stay there last night, but is getting some help from the American Red Cross. A second fire yesterday afternoon in the 100 block of C Street in West Fargo is being ruled arson. The damage estimate on that fire is about $30,000. It happened around 4. Police say a man started the fire in a garage and then threatened police. The man was taken to the hospital and the investigation is ongoing. The South Dakota women's prison warden is resigning after 9 women escaped from the prison and another tested positive for COVID-19. Wanda Markland offered her resignation Tuesday. State officials announced on Monday that an inmate at the prison had tested positive for COVID-19. 9 women escaped from the prison that night. 4 have been captured. The governor has confirmed that the escapees were from the same unit as the woman who tested positive. A woman is trying to keep people's spirits high in her Detroit Lakes, Minnesota community. She's been in the kitchen making sure nobody is going hungry during the pandemic. Valley News Team's Callie Hubbard spoke with this star who says it's her duty to serve during these hard times.
I'm here by 6:45 every morning.
Donna Johansson with Meals on Wheels serves up a big purpose in Detroit Lakes.
My father was a army cook. I've always helped him cook, and he can take pretty much nothing and make something out of it.
She spends her days whipping up meals for local families, elderly, and for daycares.
A lot of the people that came and ate here in this facility can't, and so for them it's real difficult, so we make sure that they get their meals. I feel it's my duty in a way, not just a job. It's good to do what I do. It's an essential business, in my opinion. No matter what happens with what's going on in Minnesota, we'll stay here as long as we can and keep the kitchen going.
Donna says right now they're not having any contact with their clients. Every meal is left outside. But to keep this going, they're asking for your help.
We can always use extra drivers. We can always use volunteers to help in the kitchen with stuff.
We're very fortunate that we do have a kitchen available.
In Detroit Lakes, Callie Hubbard, Valley News Live.
If you're interested in getting help with meals, or if you would like to volunteer with Meals on Wheels, you can visit our Valley News Live app and look for this story. The deadline for states to require real IDs has now been extended. The Department of Homeland Security today officially pushed back the enforcement of real ID a full year due to the coronavirus pandemic. The new deadline for states to require real ID enforcement is now October 1st, 2021. Even before the coronavirus outbreak, it was unlikely states would have met this year's deadline. As of last month, only about 35% of U.S. IDs complied with the Real ID Act. Concordia College is now canceling its upcoming commencement ceremony. On Twitter, the school announced their spring commencement ceremony would be canceled as Minnesota continues to deal with the pandemic. They said that they will work with their commencement planning team to find a new date for the event. MSUM has also canceled its commencement. It's easy to say COVID-19 won't happen to me. That's what a Texas family thought until some of them became sick. Their warning is still ahead.
And temperatures begin heading in the right direction. 34 in Fargo today. Grand Forks, your temperature reached 33. We'll be above average as we go through the remainder of the work weekend into the weekend ahead. We'll have details in your forecast next.